Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is Robin Sin, and I serve on your board of directors. And I want to thank you all for being here today, despite wind and bitter cold. But it's all very warm and toasty in here, isn't it? And before I forget, I found a phone downstairs on the chairs near the entrance door. And I tracked Dana down, and she said it isn't hers, so let us know. We do have one announcement. Fellowship Voices will not rehearse today, I am sorry to say. And the Social Justice Circle is meeting at 11:15 after the service in room 3. And we invite everybody to join the Social Justice Circle, especially those of you in Fellowship Voices who usually cannot do so. And we will also talk about a different meeting time for, I'm assuming, the Social Justice Circle.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Cool. So, special welcome to everybody who's a visitor here today. You can go to the fireside room and talk with people at our welcome table. If you're on Zoom and visiting, or just want to do it virtually, we have a guest book at uufames.org/guestbook where you can sign in and get more information about all of us. So on behalf of our caring and nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to this sacred space. Here we invite you to experience transformation, hope, renewal, and connections, which may inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thank you for joining us today.
Our call to fellowship this morning is something called Vocabulary by Sean Parker Dennison. The first word was unfungible. You said, "You are irreplaceable. There is no one like you. No one can be substituted, exchanged. Everyone is needed. Everyone is required for survival, for beauty." I learned this new vocabulary by art, an image of a gear and a flower, side by side, both shining in moonlight, silver shapes of the same size, one with teeth, the other with scented, tender flesh. In this world, there is little love for the flower growing outside, the straight row away from the trellis, few who understand and cherish beauty unfettered, referencing nothing but itself, wholly with a WH, wholly with an H, free. You taught me to love, especially whatever is unafraid, incomparable, unwilling to conform, to imitate, to comply. You taught me the vocabulary of liberation, a boundless liturgy, altar full of flowers. Come, let us gather in fellowship. As we light the chalice, please say these words together. In a world where hope is hard to find, we light this chalice, a sign of our shared commitment to love, generosity, courage, and compassion. May we be a beacon to each other and all communities, within and beyond these walls.
Thank you, Karen.
Our first song this morning is Bright Morning Stars. It's an old American folk tune, and it's not a big rouser. And so I think we're going to stay seated and just let this lovely, so just enter into this lovely song. Now, it can be a little bit of a lullaby, so I'm going to be watching out. Don't go to sleep, but let's sing this pretty song, and it's got 5 verses, so if you don't get it right away, you'll get it as we go along. Among you, don't get hung up on the way that it's written, okay? Like a folk song. Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Well done. I didn't know if we'd get there, but we did. As Dana comes up to share a time for all ages, we welcome any young ones who'd like to come up to the front to join us.
It's called The Everything Seed. It's a story about beginnings. Is it lightning? It could be. Let's see if we find out in our story. Have you ever watched a seed grow? Have you ever noticed how it begins so small, so still, so quiet, like a gift waiting to be opened? And how slowly it wakes up, begins to unfold, growing into something larger and larger and larger. Then you know that whatever comes from a seed usually ends up looking very little like the seed it came from, which is also true of the very first seed. Now once, long, long ago, way back before the beginning, so long ago there was no such thing as time because there was no one there to count it. Everywhere was a huge, deep, mysterious place, like something waiting to happen. There were no stars, no sun or moon. There was no place like Earth, not a drop of water or a single tree or rock or flower, and no living beings anywhere. But in that deep waiting space was hidden the tiniest point of something no bigger than a seed. It was not a flower seed. It was not an elm tree seed. It was not a seed of corn, although all those things were included in the seed. You might call it the everything seed, because that is what it became. No one knows where that first seed came from, or how it was planted, or how it knew, in the way that only seeds seem to know, how long to wait for just the right moment to sprout and grow. But all at once, this tiny seed, cradled and nourished in the rich soil of space, woke up, broke open, and began to unfold. Unfolding, unfolding, and blossoming forth into an enormous blazing ball of bright light, like a great grandmother's son. And the universe was born. Out fluttered the galaxies like a storm of snowflakes swirling and gathering into the brightest, most blindingly beautiful clouds of stars. And out of those star clouds whirled our own star, the one we call the sun, and our earth, and the moon, and all the round spinning planets we have learned how to name. And this is the secret of that tiny seed. You and I were there in the very beginning. Just as the idea for each leaf on a big oak tree lies inside an acorn, we were there with all the stars and planets, all the rocks and oceans, plants and animals and people. Everything that is now, ever was, or ever will be, was inside that tiny first seed. So whenever you hold a seed in your hand and wonder what it could become, imagine how you and all that is here once came from the tiniest speck of an everything seed before it sprouted and grew long, long ago in the way back beginning of time. Now, if this were an ordinary story, it would end right here. But this story of the universe keeps unfolding. What once began in a blazing blossom of light continues every day. New stars sprout open in the deep soil of space. New plants and animals appear on the earth. Seeds of many kinds are scattered all over the earth to help us remember. And new people are born every day with the spark of that first light still alive and burning deep inside, waiting like the everything seed to shine in ways that are yet to be known. And so ends our story. And if we could sing our young folks off to class.
This phone just dinged. Hope I don't get a call during. Well, each week we give and receive our offering, and each month we give half of our non-pledge offering to a local or statewide service agency. In February, all this month, we are giving our half of the offering to the Ames chapter of the NAACP. Their advocates commit to raising awareness for education and social and economic equality for communities of color in the electoral and legislative process. Of course, the other half of our offering stays here to support our programs in the fellowship and make this a community of a place of community, spiritual growth, love, and justice. We'll pass the baskets here in Fellowship Hall, but for those of you at home or with a cell phone, you can give online. You can find us on the website and give anytime. And if you're visiting with us today, please know that your presence is gift enough. And Elijah is going to move over his beautiful hand pan. So we have this special music today. Each week when we gather, we create space, we create time for sharing the joys and sorrows in our lives, knowing that our lives are connected one to another, and feeling our stories told by other people in the space with us, even if they're not exactly the same. The complexity of our relationships makes them lively. We have a couple of joys and sorrows this week from Jenny and Stu Huntington. They say, "We wish to remember our brother-in-law, John Bryson. John died unexpectedly in his home in Aztec, New Mexico during the night on February the 10th. He was 65 years old, in good health, and was the caregiver for Stu's sister. John was a giant of a man who never met a stranger. He had a big heart, an amazing intellect, and seemingly an encyclopedic knowledge of everything. We Zoomed with Margot and John every Sunday evening and were cheered by John's many interests and his ironic sense of humor over the news of the week. We miss you, John." Jenny and Stu, we hold you and all of your family close in this tender time. And yesterday, many of us gathered amongst close to 300 people at the ISU Memorial Center for Roger Berger's celebration of life. The beautiful flowers that you see here and also in near the fireside room were from the service. And if you would like to take a flower in memory of Roger, you're invited to do so. These won't remain beautiful all week, and we would love for you to take them with you. And I expect that these tall branches will find their way back into some other service or arrangement that we do here. Our hearts are open and they're broken for all that is happening in the world. These are tender, tender days, alternating between rage and frustration and sadness and appreciation of the beauty that surrounds us. It's enough to give you whiplash. We create quiet space here so that we can lift into our shared quiet the names of individuals or groups of people that we particularly hold close today. Please. Betty and Wayne. Trans folks. For all the names spoken and unspoken, for all the connections in our lives, the ones we cherish and the ones we find challenging. We rest in a sense of love. Let's sing together.
Our reading is from the book Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Just a little nudge here, if you haven't read this book, you're missing out. I come here to listen, to nestle in the curve of the roots in a soft hollow of pine needles, to lean my bones against the column of white pine, to turn off the voice in my head until I can hear the voices outside it, the shh of wind in needles, water trickling over rock, nuthatch lapping and tapping, chipmunks digging, beech nut falling, mosquito in my ear, and something more. Something that is not me, for which we have no language, the wordless being of other in which we are never alone. After the drumbeat of my mother's heart, this was my first language. I could spend a whole day listening, and a whole night. And in the morning, without my hearing it, there might be a mushroom that was not there the night before. Creamy white, pushed up from the pine needle duff, out of darkness to light, still glistening with the fluid of its passage. Listening to Wild Places, we are audience to conversations in a language not our own. I think now that it was a longing to comprehend this language I hear in the woods that led me to science, to learn over the years to speak fluid botany, a tongue that should not, by the way, be mistaken for the language of plants. I did learn another language in science, though, one of careful observation, an intimate vocabulary that names each little part. To name and describe, you must first see, and science polishes the gift of seeing. I honor the strength of the language that has become a second tongue to me. But beneath the richness of its vocabulary and its descriptive power, something is missing. The same something that swells around you and in you when you listen to the world. Science can be a language of distance which reduces a being to its working parts. It is a language of objects. The language scientists speak, however precise, is based on a profound error in grammar, an omission, a grave loss in translation from the native languages of these shores. In scientific language, our terminology is used to define the boundaries of our knowing. What lies beyond our grasp remains unnamed.
When I was in seminary, I cottoned on to many of the theological ideas that we were studying and tried to incorporate a little bit of each one into some kind of coherent whole. Sometimes I described myself as a religious, humanist, metaphorical theist, neo-pagan UU. This would cover the waterfront, I thought, and show that I understood more than I really did. That was all well and good until I showed up at a humanist gathering and said my cute little bit, and a staunch humanist dressed me down, saying that a humanist could not be a theist of any kind. Well, that event lives in me because I didn't know enough to stand up to a kind of leftist fundamentalism, but also because these were strong ideas, and to be flip about them didn't honor their depth or impact. We spend a fair amount of time here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Ames talking about how our values are what we share in common. When people ask me about Unitarian Universalism, and now I use all the syllables when I can, I say what I think many of you say, that we think it's more important how we behave in the world than what we say we believe. That we are covenantal, not creedal, that we need not think alike to love alike. And over the years, some of us have been reductive about this and say, well, we can believe anything we want. Well, no, not really. Since our shared values include justice, equity, transformation, interdependence, pluralism, and generosity, but also courage and compassion and curiosity, empathy and inclusion. Beliefs that don't encourage these values are really not consistent with Unitarian Universalism. For instance, if someone believes that only folks who look like them and think like them are worthy and believe like them are worthy of dignity and respect, or folks who believe that gender is immutable, that greed is good, or that compassion and mercy are for suckers, while they are unlikely to behave in ways that help them grow spiritually and create community and strive for justice and learn to love. And if such a person were to come here to the fellowship with a desire to move toward our values and leave old, damaging, dangerous beliefs behind, to overcome past religious trauma or abuse, to reclaim the self that draws a wider circle of belonging, this could be the place to do so. There used to be an old question of, well, if we welcome everybody, would we welcome an Adolf Hitler? Only if that person were willing to widen a sense of inclusion and share values that are ethical and life-giving. Contemporary Unitarian Universalists are a collection of come-outers and those who grew up in this faith tradition. Many of us come out of other faith traditions, or none at all, and some of us grew up UU. So in a place like Ames, where we are the only Unitarian Universalist game in town, we theists and atheists and humanists and pagans and free thinkers and scientists and Buddhists and followers of Christianity and Islam and Judaism all sit side by side, and we kind of rub the hard edges off of each other. And we share values, and we build relationships, and we cultivate a deeper shared understanding of this world. In our upcoming Pathway to Membership breakfast, there's an upcoming Pathway to Membership breakfast on March 15th. And if you're interested in finding out more about our Pathway to Membership on March 15th at breakfast, Amanda McIntosh, Amanda would love to have your contact info so we can include you and welcome you on that date. On that date, we will ask newcomers and returners to describe where you have planted your theological or philosophical flags over the years on your way to the fellowship or back to the fellowship. It helps us to get to know who's in the room with us. Former Catholics and Lutherans, or folks who grew up outside of any religious tradition, lifelong seekers, and those who just know that they need a values-driven community now. Unitarian Universalists from other places and those who are coming back to the fellowship after a time away. As many of us as there are in this room, there are likely that many theological and philosophical perspectives. We're like these quilts, patchwork with each piece distinct, coalescing into a coherent whole. Maybe boisterous at times, maybe a little bit loud, but also nuanced and complementary and stronger when we're stitched together. I wasn't quite sure how much time I was going to have to do this, but I want us to do a little thing. I want us to share with somebody near you. It's not going to last long, I promise. I'd like for you to share with a partner, and it can be somebody you know very well, because you may learn something new, or somebody that you don't know. In just a few minutes, a few words, what your theological or philosophical, what are a flag or two that you've planted? I would say I grew up in a fundamentalist church. I was baptized in a lake when I was 12 years old, and those teachings are deep in me, and I left that behind through most of my adulthood. And when I got sober, I needed a church community, and I found Unitarian Universalism, and look what happened. Short, I've practiced it. Short, but you learn a little bit of something about what brings us together. Okay, it's not going to last long. Turn to somebody, go. Did you hear something new that you didn't know about someone you were with? Did you hear something new from yourself? That's all right. That's all right. Thank you for playing along. It was when I went back to seminary to start work on a doctoral degree that I encountered religious naturalism. Here, I thought, is where my heart wants to plant its multifaceted patchwork quilt of a theological flag. There are various explanations for religious naturalism. The most basic for me is the idea that everything in the world is of nature. That is exclusive. It is exclusive of supernaturalism. Everything is of nature, and that it is worthy of awe and wonder. Now, here are the central concepts of religious naturalism as articulated by a man named Jerome Stone. He was a United Church of Christ minister who became a Unitarian and Universalist as he embraced religious naturalism. Okay, 4 concepts here. This is the lecture part of the program. Only the world of nature, which includes culture and human history, is real. Nature requires no sufficient reason beyond itself to account for its origin or reason or way of being, its ontological ground. Nature as a whole may be comprehended without appealing to any kind of intelligence or purposive agent, and all causation is natural. Well, that seems pretty dry. Pardon? Right on. Right on. It seems pretty dry, not at all inviting of spiritual practice. It's prosaic, not poetic. And why would we let go of the supernatural? Why would one want to let go of the supernatural? I remember when Mike and I were dating, and we were having this kind of conversation, and he said for him that as a scientist, any worldview that included the presence of a being that could twiddle the dials of an experiment, even if such a being or force would not do so, called into question every observable finding ever. So, some of us are more than willing to jettison the supernatural parts of a tradition that we came from, and some people feel quite comfortable holding on to this and do not find a dichotomy between the two, that the supernatural that they know is one that they trust, right? So I am not here evangelizing for religious naturalism. I'm just offering it as a way of thinking about theology that has been of comfort to me. And there are some parts of supernaturalism that we like and hold on to, some cultural pieces that feel important. I am a humanist, a religious naturalist who prays. Because as Kierkegaard said, prayer does not change God, prayer changes me. It invites me into a posture of gratitude and humility and awe and wonder. Well, if we are to jettison the supernatural and live within religious naturalism, it may seem to theists that we are left with cold comfort, a bloodless intellectual tradition that denies and reduces everything to the measurable world. But naturalists see this world as exquisitely complex, swimming with possibility, not bloodless at all. And poetry is also of this natural world, as language and culture and metaphor and storytelling are all part of what we bring forward as the human experience. We don't know whether animals who have quite complex language, some have quite complex language, we don't know if they use metaphor. We're quite clear that they use semaphore. They have lots of symbols. Mary Oliver tells us that attention is the beginning of devotion. Attention is the beginning of devotion. And that beautiful reading by Robin Wall Kimmerer talks about the language, the practice of observing, the practice of attention. This poem by Rosemary Watola Tromer offers a way into devotion as a transformative spiritual practice, widening the vision. Almost by accident, I saw through the blaze of my anger and fear the bunny in the yard, his sweet brown body so still and attentive in the short brown grass. And it's not that I became any less angry, but when I let myself be held by his steady brown eye, I was touched by gentleness, and I remembered what else I am capable of. O self, this is how you stay wholehearted, by keeping your eyes wide open. This exquisite complexity of the natural world, of which we are a part but not the pinnacle, is at every moment changing and evolving, filled with the knowable and the unknown, that offers us an opportunity to praise the presence of a language not our own, a connective tissue, a kinship with all the star stuff in the world. What wondrous love is this, holy, holy, sacred for all that is. And when we know that all the world is included, all genders and languages and cultures and choices and ways of being, our ethics follow. Our values follow that belief. All that is included, including those who believe that greed is good, including those who believe that mercy and empathy and compassion are for suckers. They are also included in all the natural world, in its beauty and awe and terror and exquisite complexity. And our values call us to generosity, to justice, to equity, to inclusion, to listening to language that is not our own. And we draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side and draw the circle wide. Do you want to sing it with me? Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side and draw the circle wide. You are beautiful in your patchwork, multifaceted, exquisite complexity. Know that your theological flag is planted in exactly the right place, and that you can pick it up and move it at will. Blessed be, and amen.
We're now going to stand up and sing hymn number 163, if you're looking at your book, for the earth forever turning.
Please be seated.
We're now going to extinguish the chalice and say these words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As always, a few good words of gratitude today to our musicians, Amber Anderson and Elijah Umba. Thank you so much. Our tech team, Titus Klinge and Mary Richards, our facilitators, Karen Bates and Ben Willeen, our religious education teachers and nursery support, our staff, Dana Poss, Amanda McIntosh, and Bradley Duckstein, all the greeters and coffee servers and treat bringers and cleanup crew, thank you all. It takes many hands to create Sunday morning experience together, and we're grateful for all you do. And to our online folks, we are so grateful for you as well. You make our circle complete. These are the words I shared to close Roger's celebration of life yesterday. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts flight to all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Blessed be. Amen. And go in peace.